What's up, my naughty community? Welcome back to my naughty hobby with Amber for part 2 of the beaded butterfly graph. Last Tuesday I released the first part of this pattern where we were stringing up our beads, and so if you followed along with that tutorial you should have a strand that looks similar to the one that I have here. And I suggested that you guys pull out some extra fiber and draw your beads through, because we have a couple of rows that we're going to work up before we actually start working with the beads. So let's go ahead and get started on this. If you haven't already, I have this document posted on my Facebook page, so you can download a copy of your own and print it out. It'll make keeping track of where you're at a lot easier. But let's just go ahead and jump right into this. So on the written portion here for row 1, it says to chain 50, and then we're going to single crochet in our second chain from the hook and in each of our chains across, giving us a total of 49 stitches. So our stitch count will always be in these brackets at the end of the rows. And then as we start to work with the beads, I've also given a bead count for how many beads should be in that row, so you can, pull up what you need and make it a little bit easier. So I am using the 1.5 millimeter hook and crochet thread with mine. I also had suggested, or given the option to doing this with acrylic yarn and pony beads, which would be a little bit easier if you've never worked with beads before. Sometimes small hooks like this is just a little bit more time consuming. So we're going to start out with a slip knot, and this is for our foundation chain. My boys are doing doing yard work right outside my right outside my window here. So again, we are chaining a total of 50. There's 10. Let's go ahead and do 40 more of these chains, and I'll meet you at the end. Once you have your 50 chains, what we're going to do is place a single crochet into our second chain from our hook. So that'd be in this stitch right here. If you're more comfortable, you can work your single crochets into that loop here, where you would just insert your hook, drop that loop and yarn over and pull through. However, I prefer to go through the back bumps of my stitches to create a cleaner looking edge, and it also gives you 2 loops to work through if you want to put a border around this once you're finished. It makes it a little bit easier. So at the end of my hook here, you see these little bumps. Those are the back bumps only, and that's what I'm going to be working this foundation row of single crochets into. So I'll work a couple of these. See that one there is my second. Insert and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. There's your single crochet. I see my next back bump is right here. Making sure you go under both of those loops. Like I said, we're just going to place a single crochet into each of our chains across, and I will meet you at the end. You should have a total of 49 single crochets at the end of this row. Okay, I just got done with the foundation row. So your piece, if you're using thread and that little 1.5 millimeter hook, this is how your little piece should be looking. From here, we're going to chain one and turn our work. All of our rows begin and end the same way with single crochets. These chain one, you'll turn your work. And now for rows 2, 3, and 4, we're simply going to place a single crochet into each of our stitches. So as I bring it a little closer here, make sure it stays in focus. This is our first stitch here. So insert your hook and drop a loop. Yarn over and pull through both. That's your first stitch. And then we will just single crochet into each of our stitches across for a total of 49 single crochets. So I'm making sure that I go under both of the loops and that I use even tension as I go along. So we'll take a look real quick at the written. We are right here, row 2 through 4, single crochet in each stitch, chain one and turn. So continue to crochet 3 more rows of single crochets, and I will meet you back for our first beaded row. All right, I'm at the end of row 4. I'm just going to place a single crochet into my very last stitch. And let's go ahead and take a look at our written pattern. We are now on row 5. I'll bring this a little closer. We're going to single crochet 17 and then do our first bead stitch. So from here, you're going to chain one, turn your work, and again, that's 17 single crochets. There's 10. $15, $16, and $17. Now to do the bead stitch, for this row our pattern says at the end of the row that there's only 2 beads. So the way that I work this bead stitch is you're going to bring your bead all the way to where it's at touching the stitch you just created. And then what I do is I yarn over and I kind of hold on to the bead there so it doesn't slip around. And then I insert my hook into the stitch, the beads where the bead stitch is actually being placed. And then I'll let that yarn go. Pull up a loop behind the bead. Usually I'll push it over a little with my thumb, yarn over, and pull through remaining 2 loops. So you've done your first bead stitch, where you crocheted it right on to this, tapestry, right into your work. So single crochet 17, bead stitch, oops, so out of focus, sorry about that. Single crochet 17, bead stitch, single crochet 13, and then we'll do another bead stitch. So starting after your next bead, the next stitch over here, we're going to do 13 single crochets. There's 5. And 10, 11, 12, and 13. We're ready for our next bead stitch. So I'm going to bring that again, touching the stitch that we just made. Insert my hook. Bring that loop up behind the bead. Yarn over and pull through 2. So it should be looking like this so far. And now we're just going to single crochet in each of our remaining stitches. And as I crochet along, something I've taught myself here to help me control tension, my piece, once it's long enough, I will hold pressure and kind of tug with this ring finger and I guess like the more fatty part of my palm here to help stretch out the work, especially when working with this smaller hook. It makes it a lot easier to go into your stitches. If you have other parts of your hand, as you can see here, if I move what I'm actually doing out of the way, and then I'll move up as I need to. And that's one of the ways that I control tension while I'm crocheting. Alright, so on our written portion, let's go ahead and mark off row 5. And after we do these beaded rows, we're always going to work a row of just single crochets. And so all of our even numbered rows I didn't put on here just to save a little bit of space on the written portion, and because it's very simple to remember that after we do a beaded line, you always do just a row of single crochets to give yourself a nice base to work your next set of beads into. Since we've already done a few rows of the single crochets and I believe in your ability to do the stitch, I'm going to have you work that one up, and I will pause the video and we will pick back up on our next beaded row. So from here, just chain 1, turn your work, and then single crochet into your first stitch and in each of the stitches across. Making sure that once you get to this beaded stitch here, that you get under both of the loops. So let's work that row of single crochets. Okay, we're ready to start on row 7 here. We're going to single crochet 15, bead stitch 4, single crochet 11. So let's start working up those 15 single crochets, where you chain 1, turn your work. Again, always starting in the first stitch there. And we're working 15 single crochets. There's 10. And 15. Now we have 4 bead stitch. So I'm going to bring up 4 beads. We're going to do a bead stitch into the next 4. I got some inconsistent beads, unfortunately. That fatty one's going to push my work over a little bit. It's okay. I believe it was 11 before we bead stitch 4 again. Yep, we've got single crochet 11, bead stitch 4, single crochet, and our remaining stitches chain 1 and turn. This row should have a total of 8 beads once we are all finished. So we're doing 11 single crochets. Oops, there's 5. There's 10 and 11. Let's bring on our 4 beads. And we're going to do 4 bead stitch. Now you will just single crochet into our remaining stitches, and then at the end of the row you'll chain 1, turn your work, single crochet into each of the stitches across, and I will meet you back. You can pause your video here and we will start working on row 9. Go ahead and mark off row 7 on your chart. Okay, starting on row 9 here, we are going to single crochet 14, bead stitch 6, and single crochet 9. So let's go ahead and get started on this row 9. Again, we're single crocheting 14, there's 5, here's 10, oops, we've got 4 more to go. Go ahead and bead stitch 6. I feel most comfortable when I bring 4 beads on at a time. My hand starts kind of cramping, so I'm going to do 6 of these. Whoops. That's why I hold on. That is why I hold on to the working yarn, so the bead doesn't try to go on to the wrong side or the back side of my work. Come on. Oops, where's my, okay. Got 2 more beads. So let's grab it onto those. We've got 1 more bead stitch. So bead stitch 6, single crochet 9, there's 5, 8 and 9. Now we will bead stitch 6 more. Just kind of looking to see if our sides are matching, and they are. From here, you're going to single crochet into each of your remaining stitches, chain 1 and turn, and work a single crochet into each of your stitches across, and that'll be for row 10. You can go ahead and get out your pattern here and mark off row 9 though, since we're finished, and I will meet you back for row 11. You can pause the video here. We're ready to start row 11, so let's work 13 single crochets, and then we're going to bead stitch 8. That's Soup. You're not coming in, Soup. So I've already got my chain 1 on there. We're going to do a total of 13 single crochets. Here's 5. 10, 11, 12, and 13. Just taking a quick look at the pattern here. We're going to bead stitch 8, single crochet 7, bead stitch 8. So 8, 7, 8. Let's go ahead and pull up 8 of our beads. 2, 4, 6, 8. Three, 4, 5, super skinny yellow one. There's 7 and 8. Now we have 7 single crochets. There's 5. 6 and 7. Now we've got 8 more. Bead stitch. Tried to couple a skinny bead with my fatty yellow one. And at the end of this row, I'm going to work that filler row, or at least part of it, with you to show you the little, I don't know, tip or trick that I use when I work my stitches, you know, over the actual graft portion. So we're going to single crochet in our remaining stitches. Chain one and turn our work. Oh, I should mark off on our pattern real quick that we've done row 11. So this filler row, row 12, is just a single crochet into each of our stitches. Let's work our way to the beaded portion. Just about there. All right. So now I'm up to these beads, and they have a tendency of kind of curling up on you, making your work curl. Like you can see, it's almost like a ribbon. Excuse me, let me grab a drink. So to make it a little bit easier, when I'm working over the beads, I will kind of grab them with my thumb and almost like roll them forward to make it easier to get under both of those loops. It's almost like a pinching motion. See, it makes the stitches stick out just a little bit higher for me if I keep my thumb along the bottom and kind of roll them down. So that's my little tip. I'm going to finish up this row just because, like I said earlier, I trust your capabilities in working those single crochets across. So I will meet you at the beginning of row 13. You can pause the video here. All right, we just finished up crocheting row 12 and we're going on to row 13. We're going to, well, let's first take a look real quick at how many beads that we should bring up, pull up through our yarn fiber, whatever you're using here. We're going to grab up 18 beads, but let's start with a single crochet of 12. All of my beads are pretty close on the string here. As I'm sure you're quickly learning, pulling your beads through and getting the slack for that filler row is the most tedious part of this beading, crocheting with beads. Okay, so we're single crocheting 12. There's 5. There's 10, 11, and 12. Looks like for row 13, we're going to bead stitch 9. 2, 4, 6, 8. Let me make sure I counted that right. We are on row 13, right? Yes. Bead stitch 9. I'm looking on my graph here because I feel like it's wrong. The beads at least. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. That's why. My brain was starting to hurt. I was like, oh man, it really stinks when you miss a bead or you misstring them. And I don't know. I kind of feel like it might have happened in the pattern somewhere, so I'll be able to troubleshoot with you guys if it did happen. I don't know if it did. But let's go ahead and do these 9 bead stitches. There's our 5th. There's 8, 9 here. Your row should be looking like this so far. Let's take a look at row 13. We just bead stitched 9. We have single crochet 7, and then we'll bead stitch 9 more. There's 5, 6, and 7. Count out 9 beads again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. I'm gonna start pulling slack since I know we have that filler row coming up. Let's just work up these 9 bead stitches. Looks like I know I had one more. Dang it, I was pulling too quick and kind of twisted up my yarn a little, my thread. Now we're just going to single crochet into our remaining stitches, and then for row 14 you'll just work a single crochet into each of your stitches across, and I will meet you back to start row 15. Go ahead and mark row 13 on your chart, and you can pause your video here. Okay, we are ready to start row 15. Let's grab our written portion. I did notice I goofed the copy. If you guys take it off of my page, it'll have the right count, but I realized I put the wrong count on the printed version for me. So let's go ahead and pull up 23 beads, which I've already done that right here. Let's see my 23 beads. But first, we are going to single crochet 11, then we're going to bead stitch 11, and let's work those up, and then we'll continue with the rest of the pattern. 11 and 11. There's 5. There's 9, 10, and 11. Now we have 11 bead stitch. So if you already have your 23 beads to the side, go ahead and pull up all of the beads to the first brown one. We've got 11 to bead stitch on. Oops, there's 3. There's our 5th one. We've got 6 more to go for this little section. My son's room is right above Craftlandia, so if you hear a little bit of background chatter, it's my boys upstairs playing. Just got 2 more bead stitches. take a look at the pattern. We have single crochet 2, bead stitch, single crochet, and then 11 bead stitch. So let's do 2 single crochets. Our first brown stitch or brown bead. So we'll bead stitch 1, single crochet 2. Now we're going to bead stitch 11. Almost sounds like they're moving furniture upstairs. Oh boy. We've got our last little bead stitch here. Now, just like we have in all of our previous bead stitch rows, you just keep single crocheting to the end of your piece, turn your work, single crochet into each of your stitches across for those even rows. But I am actually going to wrap up part 2 here, as we're already almost at an hour long and my hands are cramping, so I will record part 3. I'm going to try to get started on it on Sunday, so tomorrow, and then hopefully by Tuesday I will have part 3 where we continue to work up these rows, these beaded rows. And I would imagine after, I think that I'm going to also have to do a part 4 for how to finish off the actual piece, since, you know, this is a lengthy process. Before I cut off the video around real quick to show you guys the amounts of beads when you go to move your string. As I was saying earlier in the video, that you've probably noticed that moving your beads down the line is really the most tedious part of working with beads. At least that's my personal opinion. I love working these projects up, but moving your beads can be, you know, quite a task. So let's go ahead and move it down a little bit, and I'll show you how I do this. So I'll just grab my thread in this case, and I'm going to pull not a huge amount, because the more string that you're pulling out, the more likelihood that you're going to get it all twisted up and knotted and crazy. So I've got my new stuff. I kind of put it over to the side. I've already got a little knot here. Jeez, oh Pete. Luckily, acrylic isn't so bad about this. I'm going to move my little piece. So working in sections of about, I don't even know how many beads are here. I'm going to say 100 maybe. It's easier to work a small amount doing a good job. It's easier to work this small amount of beads through my yarn and through the slack. This is not, this isn't going how I envisioned it in my head. But like I said, as you work your beads down, make sure you're working in small sections, not only because it is easier to move smaller amounts of beads down, but because if you move too many beads at once and you start moving them too fast, you risk snapping your fiber, or also if you're working with dyed beads, colored beads, the color can start rubbing off onto your fiber because of the friction. It gets hot and it's easier for like the paints or the dyes that are used within the beads to transfer onto the fiber. So just be mindful as you move your beads down, and I hope that you enjoy working this project up so far. I would love to hear from you. If you watched the video this far, you're the real MVP here. I appreciate you. That helps with, you know, the algorithm here on the platform on YouTube. That's where all of my content is going to be uploaded to. So let me know what you're thinking about this project, how stringing the beads up, and yeah, I just want to hear some feedback. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Keep your eyes out for part 3. I'll chat with you all real soon. Happy hooking. Take care, guys. Bye.